Welcome to Backstage at TCT, where we give you a behind-the-scenes look at your local nonprofit performing arts theater. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to hear about new content. Today, our guest has been the head of the Temple High School Theater Arts Department for 30 years. In 2018, she was selected as Educator of the Year by the Texas Educational Theater Association. Her teams have won the 5A state championships 2 times and have been named a district champion for the past 28 years in a row. Please welcome Natasha Tolleson. Thank you so much for being here today. Natasha, I believe that you moved to Temple in December of 1989. 2 days later, you auditioned for TCT's production of The Boys Next Door. What was it that brought you to Temple, and what attracted you to Temple Civic Theater?
My husband's job brought us to Temple. He was a weatherman for KCEN, and we moved here from the Mississippi Delta via Virginia, via Arkansas. And I have a degree in theater, and so when I was so excited when we first looked at Temple, that Temple had a community theater. And I walked in, and Therese Verdonk was the business manager, and she walked me through and introduced me to Joanne Muchmore, who was the director. And she said, "We have auditions coming up for The Boys Next Door." And so I said, "Oh, that's exciting. I want to be involved somehow." So I came and I auditioned, and I got cast. And from then on out, I was involved in a lot of things until my job at Temple High School got sort of, overwhelming with all the productions we do there. And I try to do one show here every year. I haven't been on stage in several years.
Yes.
But I always come and support and try to get other people involved in Temple Civic Theater. It was such a positive way to become integrated into our community. It was a great way to meet friends. And it was very attractive that Temple had a viable arts program in our city.
Do you have any memories of that first show that you did, The Boys Next Door?
Marilyn Ritchie and I were the only women in the show. It was a male cast. It was a big male cast. And I became very close to Marilyn, and she sort of became like my mom for a while. We had moved here, and she showed me things and told me things about Temple. And we used to have parties and things after our shows, and that's really where I became, those were my friends. Those became my friends. And it was just such a warm, welcoming theater. It was such a neat opportunity to become part of our community. It was just my first experience. And then after that, I started designing shows.
Yes.
I designed Damn Yankees that next summer, and then the following summer I designed Music Man, and then I started directing, and it just became a very important part of my life.
I was saying to Gary and Wayne and Janice and Betsy previously that this theater, when you start volunteering here and everybody is so welcoming, that it becomes family.
Yes.
You know, you get lifelong friends.
Yes.
And they're like family.
Yes.
This is a family-oriented, but this theater is a family in itself.
Right. The people that I've worked with here are people I've known for the whole 30 years I've lived here.
Yeah.
And then it's really fun because my students, that I might have taught 25 years ago, come up here, and I get to work with them in a different capacity as an adult and not a student-teacher relationship. It's been very much a part of our life.
Yeah. And I know that you help this theater out a lot, because there's been a lot of times for productions here that we've gone, can we please come and look at your wigs? Can we borrow some wigs? Can we borrow some set prop pieces?
Right.
So it's a value in this community that the high school, CAC, Temple College, it's a big community of arts that all
Right.
help one another. Different theaters, we all borrow from each other. So, I mean, that's just such a great thing for the community, I think.
Oh, it is. It is.
So another show was Rumors.
Right.
And I think Gary Gosney was in that too,
Yes,
right?
Gary Gosney was in Rumors.
So
yes,
tell us
Gary.
about that. What can you remember?
I've got a lot of fun memories of Rumors. There was a scene that Gary's character burned his hands.
Uh-huh.
And I was supposed to be fanning on his hands and everything. He grabbed my hand one night during the show and he bit my thumb.
Oh.
Yeah, I was like, Gary, but I don't, you never know what's going to happen when you're on
That's
stage
right.
with Gary Gosney.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen. It was great. Leon Perkins was also in that show, and it was a wonderful show. It was a farce, so it was lots of running up and down stairs and slamming doors. Neil Simon. That's one of the last shows I was actually in.
Was it?
Yes. After that, I did. Betsy Chamley directed Cinderella.
Uh-huh.
And, I thought I could be the fairy godmother, but I was a wicked stepmother in Cinderella. And that was fun. And then 2 summers ago, I was in Love Letters.
Yes.
For one evening with Gary.
With Gary.
Yeah, and I've been on stage with Gary, and I've directed Gary. We've had fun on stage together, and that was fun. Rumors was fun.
Well, let's talk about Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Mm-hmm. That was the last show we did before COVID hit.
Right.
You directed, and I had the privilege to work with you as a hair and makeup artist on that show. I remember the production meeting, and a lot of our viewers are not well versed in the theater itself. So the production meeting is held before even auditions.
Right.
And I was so impressed because you came in and handed all of us on the production team like a pamphlet that had your entire vision already planned out, from the set design to hair and makeup, the costume designs, the props. I mean, everything was already planned out. And I was like, oh my God, I love this. This is amazing, because you already showed me what your vision for hair and the makeup that you wanted. Because as the director, it's your vision of how you want the show to go. What is your process? Tell us about, do you have certain steps, and where do you begin? And the set design, it was amazing. And tell us about more, because I know that might be a passion of yours, the set design. So tell us about the way that you set up a show.
Well, when I read the show, I read the show several times. And when I read the show, I look at, it's sort of like a movie playing in my head. And I think of what I want the set to be. I really also think about what I want the audience to feel when they walk in and they see the set. You want the audience to be in the journey through the entire process. So everything has to be very cohesive. The set going with the costume design, with the palette of colors we choose, with the mood, with the environment, with the lights. So I go through and I really see it, and it's like an inspiration board. I make an inspiration board. That's like what I brought and gave everybody information about the show. I do research on the time period and the location, the socioeconomic of the show, what these people would be wearing, what these people would have in their homes, what types of props they would have, what type of art would be on their wall. There's so much work that goes into a show before, like you said, before you even audition a show.
Right.
In order for it to be collaborative. So you're right, it is the director's view, but then I try to share my vision, because theater is very collaborative. So I don't do all of those things. I just sort of get the wheels moving on all of those areas.
Yeah. I think a lot of our viewers don't realize what all happens behind the scene to get to that point that they come in as the audience and see it.
Right.
There is a lot of little intricate parts that happen, and a lot of people that help make that happen backstage.
Oh yes, a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
Where we're looking at, like you were doing hair and makeup, or we're looking at hairstyles.
Yes.
From this time period, and what would one character wear as opposed to a middle-aged character, as opposed to what a child, what would the children What did their hair look like?
Yeah.
And the same thing with costuming and color theory, and the way an audience looks at certain colors or looks at certain things and how they react to what they're seeing visually.
Yeah, and it evokes a mood.
Sure.
I remember backstage as well, because Tanya and I both worked on that show, doing hair and makeup. And the costumes also, you know, meticulous, like we had to study that period.
Right.
Okay? And the stockings.
Yep.
We had such an issue with the stockings because they were in rehearsals, like almost every rehearsal, there's a run in the stockings. So we didn't have period stockings, and now we're on Amazon, we're on everything trying to find something, but we couldn't find even just the seam in the back, which was that period. And so we had to get stockings, and here's Tanya with an eyeliner drawing on the seam in the back. So
well, devil's in the details.
Devil's in the detail.
The details are very important, and an audience appreciates that, I think.
Yeah.
They might not at that moment think about it, but I think they really appreciate good detail.
I think when we get that applause and the standing ovation at the end, I think that says it all to you, to the actors, and everybody backstage that worked very hard on a show. So, and that's what we try to achieve every time here at Temple Civic Theater.
Yes, yes.
How would you describe your directing style?
My directing style is I sit and really talk to the actors and to the company about the show and their characters. And I'm a teacher, right? And so I talk about the themes and symbolism and character arc and plot structure, so that they have a really good understanding of it. And then we hit the floor, and I block very fast, because I want them to have a lot of time to get the show in their body and get the lines. Something like Cat on Hot Tin Roof is very word heavy. Tennessee Williams is very word heavy. So I block very fast. And then I'm very much about wanting to see what the actors do with the characters. So I don't interrupt a lot. I don't try to manipulate the actors. I want them to grow as characters. I don't, you know, I tell my high school students, you're not puppets. I want you to become part of that world and to understand the motivations for your character, and let me see what you can do with that. Let me see you take ownership of your character. So I give them a lot of information at first, then I block it, and then I sit back and I watch to see
where they're
going to take it.
Yeah. Beauty and the Beast. That was a massive production, and you were the director of that show. Do you remember how many cast members there were?
We had, I think, like 78, 80 cast members in that show. We had a lot of children in The Number Be Our Guest. I like to put a lot of people in those big musicals. They're supposed to be very celebratory, and I want them to be a community celebration, and I want to have a lot of people involved in them. And of course, that brings a lot of audience in.
Correct.
We have big shows like that here.
Yes.
But yeah, we had people in every square inch,
I think
of
we
the
sold
theater.
out every
We
performance,
did. We sold out
didn't
every
we?
performance. Yes.
That was, I think, my first show working with you. I was also doing hair and makeup in the back.
Right.
And that was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
What challenges do you remember about that show?
The magic. You know, we had we had to transform the Beast back to the Prince.
Yes.
We had that rose that, you know, had to light up, and we had our theater is a thrust, is a 3/4 thrust, so that in itself presented a challenge. The set also was a challenge, because you had to have the village, and then you had to go to the tavern, and then you had to have the castle. And so once we can figure out the logistics of the set design, then we start trying to figure out the magic. We had, you know, the enchantress scene, and and they want to see that. They want to see we're doing Beauty and the Beast. They want to see that Disney magic.
Yes.
And you don't want to disappoint.
Yeah.
So it was so fun to watch the audience, to watch the little girls that had worn their princess dresses,
Yeah.
To watch their face when all the magic happened within the show. And you've got characters that are was it dust mops and clocks and candelabras, and it was just very fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work, and it's sort of daunting. You think, oh, okay, we've got to recreate this.
Yeah.
But everyone was so dedicated to it. The actors, the technicians, the designers, and it came together, and it did not disappoint.
No, I don't think it did at all. Okay, so here's something fun. You directed the Rocky Horror Show for Temple Civic Theater.
Yeah.
That was the first show I actually came to see before I started volunteering here. And I was like, oh, they're gonna do Rocky Horror. I'm definitely buying tickets. And there was 4 of us that all came to see that show. That was such a fun show. So what was that like? How much fun was that? And were there any challenges there?
Oh, there's always challenges. That was a fun show, and that came together very fast. And we did it on the set of the Seussical the musical. And Brad Lamont, he totally repainted it, and it looked incredible. It got a lot of choreography, and there's a big expectation when you're doing Rocky Horror too.
Yes.
It has to look a certain way, and it was challenging, and it was edgy, and I think that's exciting that we can do theater here, that we do Beauty and the Beast, and then we do Rocky Horror.
Exactly.
So we do things for everybody.
Yeah, all different types of people that want to come and see fun entertainment.
Right.
And that show sold out as well.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Now here's something I didn't realize, that the Rocky Horror Show began as a musical in 1973.
Yep.
So us at certain ages, we always just know of the movie and the whole icon of that, that I didn't realize that it started as a
stage
as
show.
a musical.
Yes.
So that was an interesting thing for me to learn. I just want to thank you so much, Natasha, for joining us at Backstage at TCT. Be sure to find and follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and bookmark our website to learn about our upcoming productions and how you can share your talents with Temple Civic Theater. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We will see you next time at Backstage at TCT.